Tony, so that final shape thing,
Mm-hmm.
I found a service that allows you to use multiple Twitch stream keys. So theoretically, what could happen is if we were to do another one of those in the future, like for a reveal or for like the gaming awards, like a talkover type thing, if I had the stream keys for every streamer there, I could push it the exact same production from my computer to like all 8 streams.
That's dope.
Yeah.
But then there's only one problem. I don't trust you.
Oh no, I understand that. I understand.
You my key? That's crazy. No. That's crazy. Mano seemed like a really upstanding, worthy, like individual in the community, you know. But damn, you be. I don't know, man. I be seeing your Twitter, homie. Like you be getting kind of wild up there on Wednesdays.
Okay, yeah. Look, I've been going through a little bit of it.
I'm not gonna lie, I just stay off of Twitter, and that solves a lot of the issues. I've learned that Sitter is not worth the like. I'll put out a couple of things. I'm not worried about growing my follow. Like, how do I say it? I want to build my following there, but I'm not willing to sacrifice like
the mental.
It's so much. It's working for so little, and with the amount of time I have, I'd rather invest it in either like. What with little time I have, either like working, prepping some videos for the next season or streaming stuff with the community and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that would be much more like what I would do. And just spending time on Twitter, it's such a mental, like, no, thank you.
No, it's gotten worse for sure, you know, especially if you're literally not following anything but Destiny, like creators and Destiny, you know, community folks, you know, no disrespect, of course, to the, you know, this is not one of those, you know, like generalized statements in the sense that there are plenty of great folks, you know, pushing both content and also just great community and great you know, mindset and great, you know, encouragement, whatever else, great info in the Destiny community. Dan is a great example of that, who tweets regularly, but you know, it's just everybody's real down right now. And
I think it's that tough just ends not up to be down right now.
Yeah, I would agree, but I think that if you know, especially if you have a platform. I mean, we're already kind of getting into it a little bit because this has definitely been something that's been on my mind a lot whenever I step on Twitter and look at anything Destiny related. You know, if you have like a substantial platform, like there's no reason to add to it.
Right.
You know? There's no reason to add to it at this point, especially, you know,
at this point, there's no new information.
First like few days or whatnot. You know, we were all like, man, this is crazy. This is crazy. I can't believe this. You know, the shock is done. Like, there's no new information. There's no, like, why are we still going? You know,
there's no new data.
Clicks are a hell of a drug, man. For real.
Yeah, man.
For real. And it is just ruining like everything. It just reverberates through, like, especially from the larger, you know, platforms on down. You know, I was looking at a tweet from, you know, Sir D, and Sir D said it very well. You know, people just out there ruining, like literally going for clicks, going for likes, going for, you know, like ad revenue and stuff like that. And on the back end, literally destroying the base from which they're getting their ad revenue. So it's all, you know, we talk about short-term micro transactions in Destiny 2, you know, out
cannibalism
here. You know, it's the same. You out here, you know, judging, you know, Bungie with these short-term micro transactions, trying to get this short-term fill, you know, and it's the same. You're literally doing the same thing and destroying, you know, what community we have left with the folks that are left. And yeah, so it's just like, man, it's over, man. It's over. Like, you can't say something, just go ahead, just cut it off, man, and
I think
keep
part
it
of
moving.
it too is that I find that a lot of people who are talking about it are still talking about the news itself instead of reflecting and being like, this is a way, this is a video.
The human element of it?
Well, not just the human element of it, but like, this is a video I've been working on for a little bit since all this stuff happened, because I don't need the person to be the person that reads a Paul Tassi article and that's my video.
Right.
Yeah.
I am the kind of person, like I've always, I don't want to say I'm late, but I like to reflect on things like this. The same
No, most definitely.
My dungeon videos always come like a week or two late because I really think through them. I really organize them. And I feel like right now with no new data and there's no other news that we've got right now, you're not going to get any clicks because people have just been like, I'm going to play Remnant 2 or I'm going to play my Baldur's Gate 3. I've been going back and playing just when I have a little bit of time. Like this is me doing laundry last night, like 2 a.m. I just started playing BioShock again just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
A
solid game.
Yeah.
And I went flawless twice this weekend. My only desire now to play Destiny is to get the stupid wings searing ship because I cannot get it. I have tried. I have gone flawless every week once or twice, and I cannot get it. And
That's
I'm
crazy.
so over it, man.
That's crazy.
Tony, I don't know if you do trials, but if you ever want to do a card and bring
Tony.
No, I choose happiness. Honestly, I choose happiness.
I like that.
Yeah,
Of
it's
the
really,
two of us, Tony would be the one that would be more likely to do it. Not at all.
yeah. I don't even know if that's the case anymore. You know, because PVE folks be dabbling, but you see this skin, it's glowing, man. I feel.
Yeah.
Nah, that's
You
'cause
look
I
effervescent.
do not. I do not.
Is what you look.
whatsoever.
You
Touch
look
it.
great.
Haven't touched
Go
it in
outside.
like a minute.
Go outside and touch grass. And enjoy
Yeah.
Yeah.
the weather before it snows.
Yeah.
I think another thing is that like for me with going back to like the whole Twitter conversation is that like I don't just focus on Destiny 2 when I'm thinking of the news, like, or when I'm reading through constant information. I've got like a bunch of gaming news outlets that kind of help put into perspective the section that we're in.
Yeah.
If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
No. Yeah.
I think that like I am fine with being righteously indignant at the way corporations handle their employees. And I can also be excited for video games for the people who are developing the games and who were there to develop the games.
Yeah.
And those two feelings are separate
They don't
from
have
one another.
Yeah. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, and
So
that goes back to, you know, definitely want to give shine to, like, I'm surprised honestly at was two things. One is what Mano said, right?
Mhm.
Like, I mean, it's just like in general, always iterate, always, you know, like have your own kind of like take,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's just, you know, it works. So people just literally say the same thing like 20 different ways, but it's the exact same thing. But there's no sort of iteration on top of that. There's no sort of like bringing your own perspective into the mix and saying something new. And that's something that is just kind of, I don't know, inherent in kind of just the engagement farm in general. I feel like, man, since blah, blah, blah took over, you know, Twitter, I feel like it's, you know, the algorithm's been pushing it even more. Because feelings, you know, matter more than fresh words, fresh thoughts, fresh ideas. But then also I wanted to go back and kind of just give credit as well to, it's been refreshing to see a couple of very, very large platforms, some of the largest platforms come through with saying exactly what you just said, Dan, you know, ensuring that folks know, you know, you can be excited about the game and, you know, or even the game direction, or even, you know, kind of celebrating the work of folks that are still there at Bungie, or folks that you know, are no longer there, but celebrating that work for next season, while also, you know, like not being happy with the way that corporations across the board, you know, continue to dismiss and you know, undervalue, you know,
their workers,
the employees. Yeah, most definitely, especially the folks on the ground floor, you know, and the same thing specifically for the dev industry, for the game dev industry. So always, you know, want to give credit where due. Sir D with that, gigs coming through with exactly what we were just talking about. And that's not necessarily something I feel like, and not, you know, not dismissing anybody, and it's not like I've seen everything, but I'm just saying, it's not something I feel like some of our larger platforms, you know, some people are growing up, you know, some people are kind of like taking that community lead a little bit more seriously. And so I definitely appreciate seeing it.
There's also, what is it? God, I can't remember the phrase, but what is it? It's discretion is the better part of valor. Sometimes not saying anything is sometimes better than saying something.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And like, I think a lot of what's happening right now is just people. This is the thing on Twitter too. I think in some spaces where there's no accountability, there's digital schadenfreude. Like people, some people have been waiting for this moment for Bungie just to crash and burn. And I won't say that they're crashing and burning, but there's a whole slew of people who feel like they've either been betrayed, which is weird because it's a video game,
Right.
They feel like they've been betrayed, or it's not the game that they grew up with. So, oh my gosh, I was 16 and I remember that I was doing these things. And there's some truth to that. And there's some aspects of like, I enjoyed this game when I was younger and I got to play with my dad or my friends or yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And now it's changed and now it seems like it's different. But the devs who know, I've never met someone who does something creatively, whether it's music, art, digital stuff, development. I've never met someone who wants it to fail.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always
100%.
always the person, and this goes for teaching, this goes for creative acts, this goes for stuff in business. It's never the people on the ground floor. It's always the strategist and the people who are trying to monetize or see trends and get ahead of them. It's always those folks.
Mhm.
I shouldn't say always, but most of the time, it's those folks who are trying to do those things. It's the same stuff with all the stuff that's been happening with Marvel. That's one of the many things I've talked about
Yeah.
in lots of the podcasts. I just don't care about Marvel anymore. And it's
Mhm.
kind of, I feel like there's just too much. It's the same way with Destiny. We've had all these seasons just like literally like thrown at us constantly. I'm reminded
Yeah.
of like people just shooting t-shirt cannons as there's like t-shirt cannons just constantly throwing stuff at us all the time.
Hey, you get a T-shirt.
You get a t-shirt, but do you really care? Like
No,
at the end of the day,
no. If it's all the
is it a
time,
suit? Yeah, exactly. Is it a suit or like you like a nice hoodie you're gonna wear?
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
it just depends. Like, and I just think that them taking a step back is going to be good for them, and they just need to just unleash the creatives, because the creative developers, the C-suite executives don't make money. This is the thing that I've stood at many times. The people who, unless if they've been a designer themselves, or they have been someone who has created something or designed something,
Mhm.
a lot of this time, and this is what I said when I was talking with Evan and Above and Glad, is that those people do not generate revenue. And that's a
Mhm.
hard thing to hear. Those people don't generate revenue. They monetize the things, or they see the trends that the people who are underneath them are making, and they figure out a way to monetize it. So what they really need to do is let the developers cook, do
Mhm.
do all the crazy stuff that they want to do and let it rip, because the monetization right now is like it's not a good spot, and you like people are
Yeah.
going to rebound from that and say, okay, enough is enough. I've got 17,000 shaders. I don't need to buy a shader in the store, even though it looks cool. No one cares
Yeah.
about that stuff anymore. Anyway, that was my rant for a second.
Well, so my first question to you guys was going to be like, how are you guys feeling about Destiny 2? But I feel like we've covered
kind of hit it.
it.
That's good though. I mean, I feel it's
Yeah.
natural. And I mean, Tony, is there anything else you wanted to mention? Because I kind of just went off on my stupid C-suite executive rant.
No,
No,
I
that's
mean,
fair.
And you know the PvP side better than I would say Dan and I do.
yeah, PvP is the majority, overwhelming majority of definitely what I do and what type of content I create on Twitch for sure. And I was talking to Dan in the DMs, and I was just like, man, I don't know if I should be up here tonight, man, because
Yeah.
like I'm trying to remain constructive, but there's not much left in the tank for me. I was talking about this on Twitter a little bit, the fact that I don't even feel like giving any sort of like feedback, constructive criticism anymore or anything like that. It's just, I've pretty much lost the passion for it. Because there's just so much as a PvP main, there's so much like ups and downs over the last several years, way more downs than ups. And then we just had this like pretty big high with Checkmate coming through, rewarding, skilled, intentional play, folks that, for the last several years haven't really had that sort of supported outlet for the type of play that we enjoy. To truly reward us, for our skill, to allow us to be proud, of our skill. Hence, some stuff that they led us to believe was coming sooner rather than later. A couple of years ago when they released a bunch of twabs about exactly that. So between the weapons team really cooking, like hardcore cooking, like massive respect for them. The short time frame with regards to the weapons changes, seeing how that ended up reverberating. We use that term again, reverberating through, it seemed more and more through, the other teams, PvP teams and teams just in general, like with regards to the sandbox. And then seeing the PvP strike, team come to pass as well.
Yeah.
And seeing them actually like in real time cooking and things come out of that, actions and results and execution come out of that. And then to see, that folks were laid off, and a large, that ended up affecting the PvP strike team. On top of that, I have no clue. This is separate from the fact that my first, we've already spoken about like the corporate implications and how disappointing that is, especially across like game dev just in general. But separate from that, and specific to PvP and to Destiny 2 PvP, it's just disheartening,
Yeah.
And I'm no longer really myself personally. I'm no longer ambivalent. Ambivalent being, I don't really care one way or the other, and I'm more just like pessimistic and just kind of planning to do more variety, because there's not much left for somebody like me to do in Destiny 2. I've already pushed where I want to push, and there's no real space in Destiny 2 that allows me to continue to express that skill in a way that's, a rewarding gameplay loop. Checkmate. We'll see how it ends up playing out next season. But I guess really the point is, with all of this happening behind the scenes, there's no guarantee that the spark of collective will towards improving and evolving PvP will continue next season and into Final Shape. Especially with Final Shape, we're gonna get obviously a lot of changes with that, and always with Lightfall, Witch Queen, something always happens that ends up setting PvP back for like a year. Last time we got the 3.0s set us back 2 years, just about. And so, those pain points are still not, a lot of those pain points still not addressed, still not even on the table to be addressed, as far as like them letting us know that those pain points are going to get addressed. So it's just like, I'm pretty pessimistic about it, and I honestly, I'll continue to speak mindfully and to give constructive feedback when asked, but I'm pretty pessimistic about it, honestly. Pretty pessimistic about it.
Did the forming of the strike team give you any hope when it was first announced?
100%.
That you'd see, yeah.
Yeah, it gave me like, my thing is, if I'm gonna play the game, like a good part of the mental game that comes with Destiny 2 PvP is, if I'm gonna play the game, I'm gonna invest that much time, I'm gonna choose to have hope. If you don't, it's just gonna be not the best mental place for you if you're out there doing at least 40 hours a week, playing Destiny 2 PvP, right? And so, yeah, it most definitely did, because it was probably the most focused internal change I feel like we've had with regards to PvP since the hiring of more devs specific to PvP. And arguably this was even more focused because it was something that is kind of like a rapid fire team, folks that were to make changes relatively quickly in the Crucible, whether it be specific playlists or otherwise, sandbox, weapons, etc., or otherwise. On top of that, we initially saw changes almost immediately, as soon as that was announced, that were in the vein of what was discussed. So yeah, most definitely, I was pretty hopeful. Yeah, most definitely.
When it comes to what changes we know are coming to season 23, we're going to be having that's part of this tier list here. Like when it comes to like the changes to, hold on, I need to bring some things up.
Documents.
Yeah. I've got sources, gang. I got sources here. Yeah, so we just got this huge update about rewards, matchmaking, playlists, and modules coming soon to season 23. Are any of these exciting to you? Are any of these, do some of these feel like a step back rather than like a progression forward?
Are we speaking specifically to PvP?
Yes.
Let Tony cook
Um,
first. Yeah.
I'll try to be, succinct about it. I mean, like the things that immediately came up to me is Showdown and Supremacy, are two of the most underdeveloped, rewarding playlists that we have,
Mhm.
or modes that we have, and they look like they will continue to be uh, underdeveloped outside of kind of like a quick play type of fashion. We didn't even get any sort of update on Supremacy. Supremacy is fantastic. It's a fantastic evolution
Fun
of
mode.
the Slayer mode, simply because of the fact that it, what's the number one thing that plagues us since the 3.0s, especially since Void and Solar came out. People don't want to move. People aren't
Yeah.
incentivized to move. People aren't incentivized to navigate the map as maps were meant to be navigated, and go on that streak, go and drop into that focus state, and try to go back to back engagements as soon as they recover. That used to be a thing, and it's something that was de-incentivized since the 3.0s. People were playing much more defensively, but again, I don't need to necessarily explain that. So anyway, Supremacy does a lot to kind of address that, because now you have a Slayer mode. And this is not an old mode, obviously. This is not a new mode.
Mhm.
Even in COD, we had the kill confirmed. I think that was the first kind of iteration of this sort of thing. But after you get a kill, then you're incentivized to go actually pick up the crest as well, and those crests can drop anywhere on the board. So there's no particular point of interest on the board where it's that's where the objective is. It can drop anywhere because engagements can happen anywhere on the map. And if they just tune the super usage stuff a little bit, it would be, like the new best, like sixes mode in particular, and may even work quite well in threes, because we tested it quite a bit in private matches. Showdown, they had that in comp for a time, and they just never really did anything with it. And it looks like it's coming out of comp, and it was one of my favorite modes in comp. It was a nice reprieve from survival, basically, and limited revive type of playlists, and still allowed kind of an evolution of the Slayer mode, right? But still allowed some sort of competitive, round based objective, right? So kind of disappointed in that right there. I guess I'm happy that Showdown's there, but I don't even see Supremacy mentioned. Happy to see Salvage potentially coming back. But as far as like the big picture here, I'm kind of with Frostbolt when he was talking about kind of confused on what's going on with. I'm looking at the diagram right here again, and we're looking at the selection for Clash, for Sparrow Control, competitive, Showdown. It's just like, look, we ain't got the pop for all this, man.
Yeah.
Why we got so many playlists? We ain't got the pop for all that, man. Like, please condense this down. Like, get rid of it at least. Get rid of it at least. You know what I'm saying? Like condense two of these down to one, because I want options, but we ain't got pop for that. And you want to do all this like skill based matchmaking versus control. I don't know what's connection based. I don't know what's loose, what's tight. I don't know what's going on, man. Keep this simple, please. And it's just like, and then we got all these relentlesses and parties and stuff like that. It's too much. It's hella confusing for a game that is meant to be relatively casual, especially if you're trying to have like actual casuals come through, PvE folks come through. This shit is confusing. It's confusing. So
this feels like when like it feels like they did this way early in Destiny 2. Like I want to say before Forsaken.
They did it in original D1 vanilla. And this is going to go to what I'm going to say, because like I have some thoughts about like what Tony is saying, and like I want him to keep going though, because it's very interesting to hear a PvP main speak about it too. So I want to let him keep going, keep doing your thing.
Yeah, and so it's like, even for somebody that's played more PvP than most people in the world, this is confusing. This is too much. It's too much, and it's just like, in order to do as much as they want to do, specifically with control with skill-based matchmaking, you got to have a population that's thick. I mean, PvP is all about population, simply because of the net code and the connections and stuff like that. It's got to be thick. Even for connection-based matchmaking, it's got to be relatively thick. Anybody's trying to play the same team over and over and over again. So anyway, they should focus on that first. Always, it's got to be pop. Same thing for like trials. It's just like, why we have these duos still, man? Like, why we got all these duos? It's just
Mhm.
like, look, I want ideally fire team based matchmaking. Something else that still requires a substantial population. I want people to go in with just their one friend, fire team based matchmaking, matching the duo and a solo, but it's killing both the solo playlist and it's killing the threes playlist, and then the classic thing with threes, that everybody just really enjoyed with that 3v3 environment with their friends each weekend, that's being ruined. That classic experience that we've all been kind of accustomed to for the last like several years, obviously. And then also, if you're just talking about coming from like a marketing and like content creator space, just look at that and how, that ends up ruining, when people want to do like trials carries or trials help, like that sort of marketing, that sort of content creation, that benefits Bungie in the long run and in the short run as well. So it's just like that's not beneficial. I'm not out here necessarily advocating for service streaming per se, and that's not really the point, but I think we can all kind of see the line directly between the marketing that comes with trials every weekend and people doing trials help and that sort of thing. So it's just, there's this, so it's deep. There was like one more thing as well, but I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt with Checkmate. They said they've got some tuning coming with Checkmate. It said something about promoting more weapon diversity in Checkmate, and that's cool. That's cool. I think that they've done a fairly good job so far with not taking it too far, but I think that Bungie just has, got to keep in mind, that some weapons are better represented or less represented in Checkmate because of the substantial high ease of use of them. And if you end up pulling them up, to match, for example, hand cannons, which are one of the tougher like archetypes to pop off with these days, most definitely the one, one of the ones. It didn't always used to be that case, most definitely. But if you end up, like misbalancing that ease of use with that precision shooting, because keep in mind the hand cannons just got a body shot reduction, on the damage, which I completely support. Force those headshots. If it's going to be primarily hand cannons in there, you know what I'm saying? Force those headshots. And that actually ends up creating room for other weapons to come through and to contribute, to actually contribute, and force people to get off of those, to hit those headshots, or they just lose the TTK battle, because the TTK battle, especially with 140 RPMs, is horrible if you have to go to 4 hand cannon shots. So anyway, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt though, because the weapons team in particular has been just very smart about the changes. That example with regards to hand cannons, doing less damage to the body is a really, really good example, because if you again push that TTK out, because somebody has to take those 4 shots. If you force people to have to do 3, then that takes some additional skill. But that also leaves a lot of room for other weapons to come through and to, be viable when people, aren't hitting their shots like they should. So, interested to see where Checkmate goes. I think weapon diversity has to be mindful if you're trying to keep with the ethos of that particular mode. But I'm certainly not saying that I don't want more weapon diversity. I just want to keep it, a mode where folks are encouraged and rewarded by the skill with their particular weapon to really pop. So yeah.
Heck yeah. Mano, your thoughts?
I have a lot. So I've been writing stuff down. Like I got my pen. You can see I've got my pencil. You know I'm serious.
Yep.
All right. So for the first questions, how does Mano feel about Destiny? I wouldn't say I'm pessimistic, but I am not as hopeful as I have been in the past. The reason for that specifically, to be as succinct as possible, is that we have given them the feedback that they have needed. I have been part of that process. I think Tony has been too. We have told them, here are the things to improve on the game. And so they have the feedback. They're either choosing not to act on it, or someone is telling them not to. That's all there is to it. And I hear a lot of like, you shouldn't use streamers or content creators. I think that that's a bad take, because there's a lot of people who think that we are fundamentally different than other players in the game, and it's not true. There are plenty of
Yeah.
streamers out there and plenty of content creators who do not play the game a ton. They'll maybe
Yeah.
have their niche, they'll maybe have their vibe, or they'll have their base thing, but like they have, like, a lot of the general population have a fundamental misunderstanding that somehow we engage with the game differently. The only engagement that we get differently is if we get bigger, like maybe we can ping DMG and clean his
Yeah.
vault. Like that's about it. Or they'll be like, hey, you want some emblems? Cool. Or, you know, they'll invite us to summits and stuff like that, and we'll give the feedback. But it's not like they can't open up Zitter either and look and
Right.
see what people are saying. But the problem is too, is that I think there's a good designer quote for this too. That's general populations of people can know that there's a problem. The problem is that people don't know how to fix it. That's their job. Like, we're not designers. We're not going to be, but we can tell you, because the whole thing at the end of the day is you're selling us a product, right? We can tell you when your product sucks.
Yeah.
We can just tell you. It's not hard. The tricky part is, what are you going to do to solve the problem? And we've given you multiple solutions and multiple avenues to try. The question is, are you going to do something about it? And to Tony's point, with PvP, they're just like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Right. One word. That's it. Exactly.
Nope.
Yeah, we're just not going to do it. We're good.
And it comes to, as I was writing things down, okay, I have my list. But anyway, it leads to the fundamental problem that they need to figure out. One of the fundamental problems about PvP that they need to figure out, and this is something that COD struggles with, Fortnite struggles with, but they have a solution for it that Destiny does not have a solution for. How do you monetize PvP? You can't fragment map populations. What, like it doesn't make them money. At the end of the day, this is what's going to happen in the C-suite. Like, folks, there's going to be someone's like, why would we change stuff with PvP? We're not going to develop anything for it, because why would we make money with it? They're a business at the end of the day. There's no reason for them to do it, other than there's a significant base of a population that enjoys playing it. But at the end of the day, the investment of that doesn't lead to any money for them. So that's, and I'm not saying that that's a good thing. I'm saying that's a bad thing. That's a problem they need to solve. In COD, they solve the problem because they have annual, or basically annual, releases. In Fortnite, they update the battle pass, and the battle pass is intrinsic to what they do. There's nothing intrinsic about the battle pass. The whole idea is that you can do free to play with Destiny 2 PvP and base. Is that still true of Trials? There's something different about Trials. Don't you have to have like the latest expansion?
There's some paywall stuff, most definitely.
Yeah.
It's not totally. I mean, it's accessible, but you got to do some work, and I think you do have to, like, I think you might have to pay for the season as well. Yeah, specifically,
But then that's Trials, which is a whole nother. That's a whole nother
of course,
bag of cats.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's the fundamental problem that they need to address. It is not our problem to address. We have told you that this is the issue. You either solve it or you don't. And if you don't solve it, you can't be mad when a significant amount of your population leaves. And it's like it's just like, hey, your product isn't as good anymore. We're gonna go to this other product that's more fun. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I've been playing Fortnite Zero build in the ranked playlist and actually kind of having fun, because I'm not like a Red Bulled up 16-year-old. I can't build towers like an Empire State Building as soon as I take 2 ticks of damage. But I can play Zero build and it's fun. And I don't play it for any other reason other than it's something different and it helps to, like, kind of hone skills. But that leads to my another point that I've got here: investment in PvP. And also in PvE. Why do we want to play PvP? Or why do we want to play PvE in general? We want to do it because A, it's fun. B, we can improve on it, which is what I would say more of the scrim population. Like, and Tony, tell me if I'm wrong. Like, the whole idea is that you create an environment that people can improve in, and then you can increase your skill, which will help you to see better results when you're playing in PvP. Would you say that's basically accurate?
Most definitely, but definitely it is, you know, from doing what I've been doing with helping people get better, like the, you know, average people, 9 to 5 folks get better at PvP with my stuff. You know, it definitely goes well beyond like scrim players, you know, like there's just a large, and I know you weren't necessarily saying this, but I'll flush it out. There's a large segment of the population, you know, like people try to categorize everybody else. And I'm not saying that you're doing this, but people try to categorize everybody else as folks that don't necessarily care so much about getting better. And it's just like the average player does see value in getting better, especially if they end up dabbling at any point in time into comp and specifically trials. For Bungie to push trials as much as they do, and for folks to dabble in there, anybody pretty much that dabbles is gonna want to some degree to get better at the very least for that that mode. And you're getting better at that mode, you're getting better at any mode for the most part. So yeah, oh, and one more thing I'll say, and I'll let you get back to it before I forget, because I will, is that like we talk about predatory like microtransactions and whatnot. Like I've said this before, I'm all about like Destiny just saying, just hey, if we're not going to fund PvP, then we're just going to let PvP go, or we're just going to have it be kind of like a baseline thing, but communicate that so that we can set expectations. So, don't keep, what I'm saying, like just pulling us along. And that's what they've been doing. And it's clear that that's what they've been doing, is they just pull us along. They say all these lofty things whenever the community ends up coming together on a frustration, on a pain point, and then they don't actually execute. They don't come through with any sort of collective will to get that done. And, it's happened so many times that it's obvious that it's predatory at this point, And so one or the other, fix it or don't fix it, but, at least be straightforward and transparent with us about it so that we can set expectations with our time.
To kind of roll back around to it. So the modem playlist, like I had this as a C on my list, mainly because I was like, it seems like a sea change of sorts, but I don't know if it moves the needle. Where would you guys sit with that?
So is S like, oh my gosh, it's going to move the needle?
S is like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Like it is hands to God the best thing to ever happen to the game. D is like, it's not an F. it's like it's usable in the game, but how useful it is questionable.
Mode and playlists. Man, trying to decide between B and C. It's a high C, low B.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
It's simply because, first of all, we got low expectations as PvP players. Anything and any swap up, any change up shows, some sort of collective will over there more than, what we normally get. So that's one. Number two, we get salvage back, I think. We're getting more 3v3, like quick play type modes. I'm going to call it, honestly, like a B minus. So I call it a B, simply because we get, like both of those things. Some degree of collective will towards PvP, which is a lot considering, we generally get nothing or like a couple steps back. And the fact that, we're getting some 3v3 action in there as well. Obviously, it could have been A. I don't know if it could have really been S tier without, like I said, Showdown and Supremacy really being, thoughtfully pushed through. But it could have been A if, the actual playlist selection screen could have been substantially more thoughtfully, like even if they kept the connection based to skill based, whatever, if it was just more mindfully put together, both for casuals, for lack of better words, casuals, and also for like OGs, hardcore players, to just that UI and the selection for player pop being as thick as possible, then we could have gotten it to an A, but I'll put it at a low B.
Yeah. What about you, Mano?
C.
C?
As a PvE main, even though I play a lot of PvP, I'm kind of like 60-40. Like I don't spend a vast majority of my time in PvP, but I love PvP. I don't mind Iron Banner. I think that's another missed opportunity. But how do I say this? I don't care about the other modes.
Yeah.
I just don't. There's no carrot for me. There's no, oh, look, I'll get my 3 exotics. Like as an end game player, I don't care about the other modes. I just don't. Unless if there's something, and again, this probably is my PvE, how do I say this? PvE-ness coming through without sounding dirty. But there's no carrot at the end. There's no carrot for me.
Yeah.
Like, what other than improving my base skill, which for me, with my limited amount of time, which would be better served in trials or competitive, especially with the focusing that's going to go on for that. I don't like salvage is cool.
Yeah.
Any mode would be cool, but there's nothing for me that makes it stand out. It is cool that they are trying to bring more inventiveness and bring more modes for people even in the PvP community. But as the vast majority of the population, they might step in for a couple of maps, but that's it.
Yeah.
Which is the
Yeah.
other reason why I'm taking it down. The main reason I'm going to keep it at a C is the whole scattering of the playlist.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
it be a weekly rotation, so it's a little bit more of an event. Now, I'm not saying we need to go back to 3 modes, same
Right.
like it was before, but how about 5? Why can't we just give like 5? Well, how many is it supposed to be? Isn't it like 7 or something ridiculous? There's like private matches, Rumble, free for all.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
What does
We
it
have
look like again?
So we have competitive 3v3 ranked. We have showdown 3v3 or 6v6 quick play on here. Or 3v3 quick play. We have checkmate clash, which is 3v3 on labs. Rumble private matches. Clash is 6v6 quick play. Sparrow control. I think Sparrow control alternates out with a few other playlists here.
Like it's just
Does
we
Sparrow
have-
control rotate
it's
out with just regular control or something?
I want to say one of the rotating control modes is Sparrow control. Yes, control slides between Sparrow
Yep,
control.
It does. I see it rotates through different variations of control, including control, checkmate control, Sparrow control, momentum control. Yeah, what they needed to do, by the way, was they needed to get rid of. See, this is the point, and this is what I mean by like more thoughtfully. Let me pull this down. Sorry. Pull that up. Thank you.
Yep.
What they needed to do was get rid of Sparrow Control and Clash and condense that into one playlist because
just have
the people,
one playlist.
The people that are messing with a connection-based playlist are more hardcore players because those are the people that are hurt by skill-based matchmaking. Like that's valid. Their gameplay experience is hurt by skill-based matchmaking. The rewarding gameplay loop, it's not the same. Once you start caring about improvement, like valid, objective improvement, it's not the same as folks that, play the game a little bit more casually or whatnot, or are just, a little bit less experienced. It flips, it changes. I've heard that so many times over. Folks that come through, my community scrims, aka labs, get a little bit better. Things just change for them and not for the best in the pub's playlist. And it just makes more and more of a dichotomy between the environment that they end up finding in our community scrims versus the wider pub population. But either way, what I'm saying, like condense those two right there, because the people that would be looking for that improvement based, kind of gameplay loop would actually go to the competitives and to the connection based like showdown, the 3v3 quick play over on the left. And it's easier also to maintain connections whenever you don't have a full 6v6 in the lobby as well. So that would relieve some pressure on Bungie. So it should be the 3v3 quick play. It should be the competitive. It should be one, 6v6 playlist right there. And then it should be the labs down bottom in the bottom left. It could be 3v3 or 6, whatever they're doing for the labs, Rumble, and private matches. And that's the way it should be. And that's it. And then, whatever is the 6v6 should be then loose skill-based matchmaking, and then just leave the showdown or the 3v3 quick play as connection-based. And it's just like...
To me, it's even more simple than that, because I think that's great, Tony. I think that's like a very detailed, like awesome, like breakdown of skill-based matchmaking and the connection matchmaking and stuff like that. That's fantastic. For me, looking at it, it's an even simpler thing, and it takes me a little while to get an analogy to put together, but just stay with me. Do you know why Apple succeeded in the iPod era, and now why almost everybody has iPhones? Not saying that everybody does. Do you know why?
Lack of choice. Limited choices.
What they did is when the iPod came around and Steve Jobs became like the CEO again, there were a bajillion Apple products. There were like 15,000 things. You could have all these different combinations. And what ended up happening is that people would get paralyzed by their choices.
Yep.
And they would look at it and be like, oh, I don't even know what I want. And so Steve Jobs is like, no, we're done. We're cutting all this stuff. There's 4 choices. And I remember like he actually had a graphic. It was like one of his first graphics. And I think it was maybe the year before he released the iPod. As someone who's into technology, I've gone back and watched some of his stuff like at Macworld or some of those earlier stuff. So I think of that because it does also have to do with consumer psychology. And they said we're going to have we're going to have 2 branches of laptop. One's going to be performance, one's going to be more casual. we're going to have a performance-based desktop, and then we're going to have a casual desktop. Done. That's it.
Mhm.
And when I look at this as a PvE player, or I'm thinking of this as a newer player in the community, because a lot of my content on YouTube is put around like how anybody can do X, Y, and Z, or how you
Right.
can be a little bit more casual. I look at that and I'm just dizzy. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too much.
I don't know what has skill-based matchmaking. Do I want to do Rumble? What's
Yeah.
what's Clash? And if I'm a newer player and I'm looking at it, like you have to do all this prerequisite research into it. Instead,
Mhm.
it needs to be there is a middle ground, because it's the Papa Bear, Mama Bear thing. There's too hot, too cold, and just right.
Yeah.
Destiny 2 at release was too much. It was like, here's 3 playlists, deal with it, sucker. And then now this is like way too much choice. Just condense it just a little bit to keep our player population correct. I also think they're doing this also, and Tony, tell me if you think this is a wild take. I think they're trying to solve the skill-based matchmaking problem by splitting lists out, and to do like, to give people more like, oh, if you want to be a connection-based player, you can do Checkmate Clash, but we also have Sparrow Control, and then there's competitive, and then there's Showdown, and then there's all these different options to try and make everybody happy.
Yeah, but
But
it's one of those things again where it's
gonna be happy.
superficial. It's not it's a superficial solution, because population again like matters, you know?
Right.
And it's just like if you listen to anybody, especially hardcore players that are the ones generally going towards a relentless connection based matchmaking, or at the very least even just improvement focused players, right? Then we're talking about people that like would come back and tell you, if you don't mind putting that back up, Dan, sorry, that I got distracted a little bit. Then you know, it's going to be people that tell you, you know, like at, I don't know, 9 p.m. Eastern or whatnot, 10 p.m. Eastern, even the Clash playlist, even the Relentless playlist, you know, the connections aren't the best, because population matters. Population matters. Even in connection-based matchmaking, population matters, especially if we're talking about what is a reasonable process of ensuring that there is some sort of outlier protection for significantly less experienced players as well. You know, that should be always something that is at the forefront when we're talking about even connection based in any sort of playlist, PvP wise. We want, you know, those people around and those people to get hooked, right? So anyway, yeah, you know, like I said, you know, it's just like there's no depth in thinking about this. It just seems like it was kind of just put together with exactly what you said. It's just like, man, we're trying to give people choices, but it's just like there has to be
There's too many choices.
a middle ground. There has to be, you know what I'm saying, like some other considerations beyond just, okay, we're going to give you choices now. We didn't give you choices before. You know, we didn't even give you a connection base before. Now, you know, we're giving you choices and you still complaining. Well, you know, there's more than one consideration here, people, you know, and I expect you to kind of know that, because you this is your thing. It's not my thing. You know, I shouldn't have to tell you that, you know, that population is everything. So again, you know, condense those two down, those 6v6s. Then whenever Iron Banner comes around, replace the 6v6 with Iron Banner. Then whenever Trials comes around, replace the Showdown 3v3 quick play, you know, and then Checkmate Clash or whatever the labs is, just have it there when it's there, you know, for like the 4 or 5 weeks or whatnot out of a season, and then disappear and just not even display, so that you only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, you know, displaying at any point in time outside of if labs ends up coming through.
What I was going to say, Dan, is do you have Destiny 2 open?
No, I don't have it open because I had to close it for recording purposes.
Well, you know, my chat makes an excellent point. They're like, if you want to look at the different vibes, look at the Vanguard playlist. Like I'm in Destiny 2 on my other PC right now. There are 3 choices. You got Nightfall, Vanguard Ops, Grandmasters. That's it. You go to Gambit. Guess how many nodes you have?
Like 2.
2.
Yeah.
Gambit, deal with it, sucker. Or private matches. Then you go to Crucible, and you know there's 7 there's technically 7 right now. And then you look at your Legends tab. To me, the Legends tab, which is the one that's got the 3 old raids in it, Presage and Prophecy, like to me, I look at that, and to me that's the most balance of them all. It has 5 choices, and obviously you're going to focus on whatever the raid is that's you know, the focused raid, at least from a PvE standpoint. But again, I just think that I think Tony's exactly right. Just pare it down, give people a few what would you say, fewer choices to make it so that the paralysis is less there, because a lot of people who are new are going to be like, wait, okay, Oh, this one's the big circle, and oh yeah, that's the big circly one instead of the
Right.
tiny one. It's like it's not momentum control. You know how the logos are smaller.
Yeah.
People are just gonna go like, and that's why Iron Banner and competitive are the two biggest modes right now. Like they're the big ones. And
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just again, it just goes to like you could make it better, but if you're going to try and create an incentive, why don't you try to create that incentive inside of the new modes you want to do? Why isn't there a
Right.
cool reward? Like, hey, do this reward and we'll give you this cool sparrow emblem. Or like
Mhm.
there, you know, I cannot believe. I know that development is hard. I know
Yeah.
it is. I know it is, but I can't fundamentally believe that making an emblem is that hard. I just can't. I don't
Mm.
believe it because like do you know that Niobe Labs was basically designed and thought up by one person? Like the
Had
Niobe
no
Labs,
idea.
the thing is like
Not surprised. Not
Yeah.
and
surprised.
like Scarrow was telling me about this, and that blew me away. I was like, wait, and like that just reflects on like obviously other people helped to design it, but it's an emblem. Like I
Mhm.
can't fundamentally believe that like we can't come up with some cool cool cosmetics because that's what the PvP community needs. That I know Sep and Hardcore and Two Hardcore talked about this. Is like all you got to
Mhm.
do. I continue to play Trials to this day, even though I am not a good Trials player. I am average at best.
Yeah.
I still go there because I want that stupid ship.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I
Right.
do it.
Yep.
Because I want that cool cosmetic, and I will
Yep.
chase that carrot. Bungie, please give me the ship. This is me
Mhm.
just praying
Yep.
for it.
Yeah.
But if you have all these modes, there's no carrot for people. It's just like, hey, there's some new modes, and there's hey,
Right.
you can take a sparrow because we screwed up that one time and left the sparrow in multiplex. Enjoy. Like that's the whole thing. Is
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
kind of a meme at this point, but
Yeah.
I'm half expecting them to do that with the crafting. Of like, you know what? The crafting was so much fun. Here's how you could do the rest of the crafting with your
Right.
other gear.
Yeah.
You brought
And I agree
sparrows.
with
So
C. I agree with C now about as well.
Yeah.
I'll just say that I appreciate, you know, Mano's kind of perspective, and I
Mhm.
always just appreciate, you know, hearing
you as well.
from like a demographic, you know, that is fairly different from mine. I wouldn't
Mhm.
say that, you know, Mano is a casual by any means, but you know, people always segment it as just like hardcore players, casual. That's a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, like it's
There's
a
so
little
many
bit, you know, yeah, most definitely, it's a little bit simplistic, and you actually make up a decent amount, I would say, of as far as like a demographic, maybe even just like the you know tied with, you know, casuals or whatnot. It's just a lot of people that
Mhm.
play this game a lot, you know, just in general for whatever reason, and you know want to see, even folks that want to see some sort of improvement, but it ends up being what that improvement. This is something I've learned, you know, what that improvement means to them. Like what type of
Right.
improvement, you know, better with your play style, you know what I'm saying? It's like KD going up. You know, like I want to be able to like flip weapons and, you know, stand still, pop off or whatnot. I want to be good in this particular mode versus that one. Either way, you know, like the fact that, you know, you're talking about like the ship. I was so surprised that I see so many people excited to get that ship. You know,
Mhm.
this is a really good example. But as a hardcore player, I don't care whatsoever. But that's got to
Right.
be like one of the biggest things that I see. Oh man, I got the ship, and then this clip garners like thousands of likes or something like that, and it's just like, okay, I get it. There's people out, you know what I'm saying? This is a thing. This is a thing, you know? And
There's
so
also there's so many incentives for the game, and I think that's actually Destiny's strong suit, Tony.
agreed.
I originally started I sucked at Destiny PvP, and then I
Mhm.
started like I did like do some trials, and I ran into some buddies who I started playing a little bit more. One is shout out to Kenshin. He doesn't play the game anymore. Specifically, he literally said to me, "They've compressed the skill ceiling too much. I'm not interested in it anymore. I can like, there's just no reason for me to play the game anymore because like I can't improve." And this guy is just an insane sniper, just top tier. But I learned from him, and I got a lot better. Like I was just originally like a 0.23, and I got to the point where I was above 1.0 KD, and I'm and like 1.2 or something like that, which is fine for me as being a PvE scrub. But then there are the other people who are like,
It's above
I want the shiny thing. I want to get
Yeah.
the ship. I want to get the and again, this is one of Destiny's strengths. I want to get level 11. I want to make the number
Mhm.
go up. I want to be 1820. I want to get the seal. I want to do the triumph. That's one of the
Right.
things that Destiny does well, is that someone can be like, I want to improve in my game, but then there's other people who are like, I want the ship or I want the shiny thing. I think to your point, you're exactly right. That's one of the great things about Destiny is there's so many things that you could that are rewarding. And for a lot of people, that improvement is a massive step. And I think a lot of the PvP community likes that. And I feel like they haven't felt that. Like there's really they'll improve, but because the skill gap has been compressed, that's that's one of the reasons why people are being driven away.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely, 100%. I mean, I said before, it's just like there's not much else that I really want, out of PvP, because I am purely like for the almost totally, improvement focused type player. Always have been. And it's just like there's nothing there for me so much like anymore. I was gonna say one more thing. I would say that also more people than folks think are improvement focused or could be activated to be improvement focused. But I've heard so many times there's no point to it, and that's totally valid. There's no point to it, and when you do get better, you end up playing in the same lobbies as your friends play, and we all know you hate those. Valid as well, because that what do people say all the time? I don't play with some of my friends because in connection based matchmaking, because those lobbies are horrible, for a variety of different reasons. So
my friend Travis
you're
is that
punished.
guy that we don't play with because his lobbies are awful. I think the same thing goes for PvE too, because once you hit a certain threshold of improving over time, you either become like the speedrun sweat, or you're kind of like at that level, and you've hit the ceiling of what the content can offer you when it comes to challenge or along those lines. Something
that's why I miss like Izzy Swap Rocket being like, that was a great example of a great skill ceiling-esque type strat in PvE, and we ended up coming back down to like one weapon. I'm glad to see the bait and switch kind of like leaned into that a little bit more, right? But nonetheless,
moving from this portion of the conversation to something maybe a little lighter. Sparrows are all getting lifted up to like about like 190 to be comparable to always on time. The only thing that they're missing, I think, this one. Sorry, I'm looking through. I made sure to go through and get all of the tabs up correctly, or try to. Unless they're not here.
I think it was the one before this.
Gotta go fast. It's right here.
It is.
It's right here. So in season 23, we're seeing all sparrows kind of get the lift up to always on time.
Yep, I like that.
So that you can safely swap. All legendary and exotic sparrows will also move from like 100 to 150 health to be more durable to match AOT's health pool. Basically, the only thing that they're not getting is that stealth addition that Always on Time has, which I think kind of gives it a leg up when I've been running like Grasp of Avarice during the my solo runs. Where do you guys put that quality of life improvement?
I'll lean to Mano.
It's a B.
It's a B?
It's a B for me. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, it's cool that we have all these sparrows and stuff like that and we can go fast, but I don't fundamentally think that the gameplay loop of using sparrows is that much different. Now, that being said, there is a new mode coming out, obviously.
Right.
PvP. That could be interesting.
Levels the playing field.
So that could be something that could move it to an A. But to me, the sparrows, because the sparrow is fundamentally part of is part of some of the gameplay loops, but I think it's 2 years too late. Like, I think if it would have come out in Beyond Light, everyone would have been like stoked. But at this point, like it's such a niche change, and it's a cool change. Let me for the record say I think it's cool. I will be busting out a bunch of other sparrows because I've stapled Always on Time to my character. I've always had one on each of my 3 of my characters, and then like sometimes I'll do the funny mini sparrows, whichever ones they are, for the lulls.
Right.
But that's about it. But I mean, I might take a couple sparrows out, but for me, like, it's not going to fundamentally change my gameplay difference. That's why I can't move the needle up to an A or an S. Now,
Right.
if there's a fundamental difference when there's a PvP mode based around it, then it could be more interesting. Or maybe the maneuverability of like using a smaller sparrow might impact that. That could be cool. That might be an interesting thing. But for me, it's a B.
Yeah. I had this all the way down at a D. I felt like this is like such a thing that was like not a like it's nice. It's nice to have.
Fine.
But it's like
too high. I was kind of thinking like B was like the middle, like it doesn't move the needle, but it like D is like change that's to me like a D is like a change that doesn't make sense. It's stupid, and C is like I think it's a bad design decision. That's why I was like okay saying C for the notes. Like it's a bad design decision, but a good idea. B is like it doesn't hurt anything. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's B is like a nothing burger.
It'll be fine for somebody. It just doesn't affect. I guess. Because I've been using different sparrows for the past few seasons now, just because it's like, man, I hate I love Always on Time and what it's able to do, but I was sick of looking at it, so I had to change in order to do anything else. So I've been kind of on that tip of, okay, well, just gonna be using whatever I want now, and who cares if I get shot more because of it. When going into another quality of life change, in-game LFG will be, as per the Destiny 2 showcase, in-game LFG will be taking center stage sometime.
I'm just saying, we're really leaving that at a B. I just wanted to say, we're really leaving Sparrow.
I'm leaving it. I will probably move it down.
That's wild. I'd move it to C. I'd move it to a C.
I'm gonna move it down because I had it at a D because I was like, it's okay. It's like it doesn't
change the game.
It doesn't change the game at all. Like it's fundamental.
If you're a PvP player, you never use it. Really.
Yeah, unless you use it in
look. It's not combined arms. You know?
Right.
Again, it's like a mode that was relatively well thought out. You know. Very different from like traditional, PvP modes, right? Down to the maps that were used, everything. I don't expect that for this right here.
No,
I don't expect that for this right here. I expect this to be a very superficial. You literally, get what you see. Period.
It's based off of the accident that happened a few months back.
Exactly.
Like it was like this was fun. So let's give it to them.
So let's try to reproduce that, lightning in a bottle, but it wasn't even really lightning. It was like a little firefly, Yeah. And as far as like the wider sparrow change, people are still going to use if no time, always on time has like a slight leg up, then the people that were using always on time are still going to be using always on time. So unless you straight up normalize it across the board, across all sparrows, it literally didn't change anything for the folks that are using it always on time right now, because they still going to be using it doing the same exact thing.
It has that stealth buff,
exactly,
which keeps things from firing on you when you're riding it.
So you'll still be using it for the same reason.
Yeah. Does that open it up? Does that open sparrows up to have more exotic perks added to them down the line? Who knows? But at this point, it doesn't move the needle all that much.
Yeah.
I could see it if there's, and again, I can't speak to it because it hasn't happened yet. Like if in the final shape there's large areas of the area where you can sparrow, that could impact it to some extent. But I think Tony is right on the money. That's why I said a B. I don't think it's like, it doesn't fundamentally change the game. I don't think it's bad by any means, but it's not like I'm getting excited about it. And so I think he's right on the money. Like just we could move it down even lower if you guys really wanted to.
I feel like C is good.
I got I got low expectations as a PvP player, so changes just automatic. I don't know if I'd put any change, like just for the fact that it being a change. I don't know if I'd put anything at D, just simply because I'm so desperate for literally anything.
I just did Sparrow. I looked at Sparrows. I was like, this doesn't really affect the way that I play. This doesn't really affect like most of the people that I know. When they're dying, it's not on a Sparrow. It's usually when they're slapping hide and shooting lead at something, and then they lose. Like, which is the entirety of the game. In-game LFG, Fireteam Finder, comes this season. Depending on how they implement it, I'm really excited to see how well or how meh this is.
It's tough to put it at, I'll keep things moving along here,
Yeah.
like it's tough to put that at an S without actually seeing exactly what you said,
Yeah.
like to see how it's actually implemented and getting excited about that right there. But it's easily an A simply because of the fact that this is something we've been looking for a very long time. And there's so many different like little third degree, second and third degree like spin-offs that are beneficial to the game based on it as well. It's kind of like the same thing as us moving more towards, and we're going to speak about this a little bit more towards getting, dim in game, basically more dim in game. And for something that is so, LFG being, one of those that is so integral to the majority of folks that play this game, LFG even more than dim, I would say. Yeah, I think that it's got to be an A. It just can't be an S without us seeing how it's fully going to be, integrated into our experience.
Mano, what about you?
I am going to give it a B because I think right to Tony's point is we haven't seen it yet. We have not seen the results of it. I also have a fundamental belief that there's two issues. Developers' time does not need to be spent on something that community does better. So, and this is my argument for dim. You guys ever watch Invincible? You guys know that show, Invincible, on Amazon? You know that part where the Omni Man says, look at what it takes for them to do a fraction of the power of what we have?
Yeah.
Like, to me, the dim thing and the LFG, unless if they're significantly better than like what other people have resources have been putting together for years, I don't see that there's no reason for it to move the needle.
Yeah.
Like, the questions they would have to address is it would be in game, which is the advantage of it. And I do like that part of it. The ease of use, especially say, for example, you're a console player. You don't have to go to your phone. You don't have to go to an app. There's an advantage there. I think from a design standpoint, that sounds good. But truth be told, if you want to LFG, like if you want to get something done, you can do it. The problems you have to deal with is nothing that Bungie can control.
Yeah.
It's all like, are you that jerk that leaves after two runs of the opening encounter in Crota's End because, everyone, like one person was stranding up like 20 miles an hour, basically trying to go as fast as possible. Everyone is back behind. No one takes the chalice. Like those are problems that I don't know how you design for. I think the advantage of it being in the game is great. If they execute on it, perfect. Awesome. I would move it to an A then. But at this point, I don't see how that could be an S. I think the only advantage is the fact that it's in game and you can just join up whenever you want. I do think that there's an advantage there, especially for people who are I wouldn't call them more casual, but don't have as many friends that play.
Right.
As if they don't have like a core community of people that they can just like, hey, you want to do a raid or you want to do a dungeon or whatever. There's an advantage there. So I can see that.
Or people that like absolutely just prefer to game solo, but obviously there are things in the game that need,
I want to
need
do
more
a quick
than one
GM.
person. Most definitely, because I need this loot, and it's cost prohibitive to try to do this solo. Most definitely.
I think so. For me, I put this on my list at a B, but I can see the argument for A, and this goes kind of hand in hand with Vault Access. Tony, 100% what you're like, the in-game-ness of the thing, of it being in the game, no fuss, no muss, actually makes it a lot more appealing for people.
There's a value proposition there.
Yeah, I was talking with my chat earlier about this, and I was like, there are so many people in the Destiny community who play, or there are so many people who play Destiny who may not have Twitter, who may not get on Destiny Reddit, they may not hop into a Discord, they may not hop into Twitch to get together with people that have a like-minded or to find a community of like-minded people that way. It's just fundamental. There's going to be so many more of them than what we know because of we're all kind of like in our little Discord servers,
A little bubbles,
or
yeah, most definitely.
yeah. And so I think I think the success of this also depends on how successful the forums have been, with Bungie's internal forums being an LFG. How successful are those overall in this experience? If those are doing fairly well and they're building this tool, I'm assuming that like this will take off like wildfire. Now, do I see a lot of people doing higher end like master raids off of this? I don't know. I really don't. I think for that kind of thing, there's still a place for like content creators and more like small batch communities, more niche spaces to fill that gap of like, hey, we're cool. We're not going to yell at you for shooting at the ground necessarily, but you should definitely be trying. Like something like that, you know? Whereas I've been in LFG groups, that's actually where I started in Destiny, was in LFG groups. And I found a group in Wrath of the Machine, and it was one of the worst experiences of my life. It's okay,
not Goat Raid, maybe not the most goat experience. Okay, I hear you.
Yeah, it was bad. It was like the first couple of weeks that we were in. I wasn't really playing with I wasn't playing with content creators. I was playing with buds for the most part, but when I wanted to do this raid within the first couple of weeks, I was left kind of to the wolves there.
Oh no, Mano, I don't believe him. Honestly, you sound like he ain't jumping to the back. He ain't jumping to the back, bro. He ain't jumping to the back. You kept on missing the back, right? That's what it was.
It was
empowered left, baby.
Come on, baby.
There's this one dude. There's this one dude who kept calling me an epithet the entire time, and I was like, dude, I cannot with you right now, and I'm just gonna go. So I was the guy who quit because somebody was being shitty.
I mean, I've been in those groups before. I remember like in Destiny 1, I was in a King's Fall with a group of people. I LFG'd. I remember it was late at night, so I'm like, I'm not going to stream. It's just like, hey, I need to get my clear done. And I hop into an LFG. Like I just vividly remember this. And they have this leader there, and he's like shouting and yelling at people, and he's telling them and like I've done a lot. I got my start in LFGs and stuff like that too. I ran the sword. That was the thing, is like I learned to sword bear, and I would just go to LFGs and be like, hey, by the way, I stream on Twitch. You know, don't grow your community that way, by the way. It's the dumbest way to do it. Just start on YouTube and make YouTube videos. Anyway, I remember going into this other LFG group, and we were stuck on the ogre in King's Fall. And the guy was like telling them all these bad strategies. I was like, hey, you know, I did a couple, like I was just super nice about it. I was just like, hey, can we just try this way? And he got really mad at me. He was like, no, who do you think you are? And like he started like literally shouting at me, like, well, I mean, I've done this multiple times and I've run with other people. I didn't flex or do anything else like that. I was just, hey, I think that this might be more successful for our group. And we tried it like 2 more times his way. And then finally he's like, you guys just suck. And just like, he left. I was like, and literally as soon as he left, they were all like,
the veil was lifted.
We were like, we were just waiting for him to leave. We are so glad you said something, because like none of us like were wanting to say it. And I'm the kind of person that I will tell you exactly what you think if you ask me, or if I think you're doing something. I mean, it's one of my strengths and weaknesses. Sometimes I need to learn to shut up. After that, we grabbed another person, like say, hey, can you hop in it? I don't remember that. It's not Morgoth. It's not Golgoroth. Is it Golgoroth? I can't remember. It's the ogre in King's Fall. Literally grabbed another person. Hey, we're gonna do it this way. Shoot his back. We'll rotate. Yeah. Literally first time we did it, got it done. And it was just because we were like, hey, do you guys want to finish work? Sure. We did it, and everyone had a great time. And it was see, and you can't design for people being assholes. So I mean, you just can't do it. Like, I don't know how you're going to do it with LFG. If you can give some cool cosmetics, I think that was something that was cool with Last Wish. They had some emblems, right?
So the guided games experience, I don't know how many of you guys hopped into guided games when they were, that was, it was one of the experiences of all time. We used to do it with clanmates just to get that extra, like, I believe you got an Ingram for doing that for your clan. If you did guided games.
You're right.
We used to do that, and then we stopped after we had a bad experience with somebody that was going into guided games and kind of harassing people. so and that was their content strategy. so it was like a whole thing. But I hope it's better than that. I know that this was supposed to roll out around the same time as the commendation score, which commendation scores being what they are right now, maybe not serving so much of a purpose, but I can see how, like, oh, if you have so many mastery medals, like you can only get those from so many areas of the game, that if you have some of those, I can probably trust you to be able to take out like an unstoppable ogre. Something along those lines. I'm gonna put this at an A. Like just over.
Like a low A.
Yeah, I think like an A minus. I think it'll be fine.
I think it could be good for people who don't want to get on another app or console
Yeah.
players.
Yeah, that's definitely me.
Mhm.
That's definitely me. You know, anytime I hop in, you know, because there's you know, because my community is so overwhelmingly PvP. You know, like I'll definitely hit my people up first, whether I'm streaming or whether in the Discord or whatnot. But oftentimes I end up going to the LFG just to kind of like fill out, especially if it's a 6-man activity, a 6-person activity or something, you know. So I definitely appreciate that. I mean, even if it functions the exact same, you know, with no improvements, but the exact same as, you know, the online, I think it's just a positive that it's just in the game. It's one less step that I have to take, right? So
that's the value.
That's kind of why, that's kind of why I take it at an A. Yeah, because it's not just like high-end activities or something like that you know I would want to. It's just it's just salvage, you know. Just trying to get another spare rations engram or something like that. So
I think going to that vault access is another thing. We're going to be able to access our vault from anywhere in space, is what I saw. Maybe, dear God, which one is it?
Yeah, that's in orbit. You'll be able to do it in orbit.
Yeah, you'll be able to do it in orbit. I was looking for the thing here to see if I could throw it in the background. Vault from orbit, don't mind. So yeah, you'll be able to do it from orbit, and they're looking into additional areas to give more freedom to access the vault in game as well, as part of that proposition. Where do you guys put this change?
I don't know. It's probably like C or B. Honestly, it might be like it honestly might be like a high C. It's kind of just like, I wouldn't even put it a C. I mean, just like, you know, Mano said, people that are accessing it from orbit, especially, you know, especially the people that are accessing it from orbit. It's just like, we got them. We definitely got them. You definitely got them if this is one of your wish list, you know? Yeah. And with it being just something so small like that, you know, like I don't care. I'm still gonna have my dim right there in my in my Steam overlay, you know, where I have much more power to do a bunch of different stuff. So just the mere fact that I can, you know, access it from orbit is kind of just like step 1, right? And like dim is on like step 10. And so you're going to need to give me a few more steps if you actually want me to like value this change to the degree that, you know, I'm not going to just have like dim open wherever I normally have dim open. I'll say it again. The people that don't really care or don't really need and may not even know when it drops that you can access it from orbit are just fine going to the tower. Like just fine. Those are not people that have dim open, you know, but the people that have dim open, who cares? And so I think it was kind of like, sure, I'll give it a C only because I assume this is going to be step 1 of whatever in game. I won't give it a D because of that, but beyond that, sure, cool.
Yeah.
I'll give it a C. It's that same thing. It's that same quote from Invincible. Look at what it takes to do a fraction of what this can already do. In dim, you have the ability to not only check the inventory, the progress, the vendors. You can create loadouts. You can share them with friends. You can check your power level. You can check your exotics, what you have. Like there's if you don't make it absolutely just slap, how are you? Like for me, like what's an old weapon? Let's see, last wish weapons. I'm in dim right now. I'm gonna type in last wish,
and it fills it out for you there.
It's like every single last wish weapon, source last wish. There are so many additional benefits. This is a perfect example of like a change that they did not need to spend time on, I would rather have that person who spent time developing this spending time making another map for PvP.
Mhm.
That is a better allocation
Yeah.
of their resources. Way better, because just let the community do. If you're going to give them API access in the first place, and there's
Mhm.
already better because Dim is not the only one. There's, what is it called?
Yeah.
What is it? There's something
Destiny
on
recipes.
iPad.
Well,
There's-
there's Destiny. So you have Destiny
Oh, you're talking about
recipes.
Ishtar Commander.
You have Ishtar Commander.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used
You-
that when back in the old days, and I loved it.
I think
Yeah.
Braytech also has
Agreed,
a
has-
solution now too. Like
Yeah.
it's I think that it is a thing that is so widely used, but I also think that it serves that community that is like, I
The
don't,
brand new community.
yeah, or like either the brand new community or people who are just like, look, I just want to grab my shit.
Yeah.
like if
it would have been great. It would have been great at launch at Destiny 2. Like, this
Oh,
would have been
100%.
game
I
changing.
still
But-
don't think the people that are just like, I want to grab my shit, they heard it from somebody. They just go to them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they heard it from somebody.
Yeah.
Like it's
And the
not
fact-
hard to find.
Yeah.
It's not hard to like find out about. It's so on the tip of like so many people's tongue that if you literally interact with even a few
Yeah.
people, and that is a major like frustration point, you know about them. Like I said, the people that don't know about Dim would be literally the people, because nobody's going to use this over just having Dim open,
Mhm.
Yeah,
because you have like the functionality is just crazy with Dim versus
Yeah.
just having,
and there's so many ways
like
to
the
act.
people that aren't, they're just going to go to the tower, just as, kind of following the gameplay loop,
do you find yourself using the in-game loadouts?
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
It's funny because it actually has kind of become meta in a way for like
Mhm.
end game. Like for if you're soloing like any kind of a dungeon, or if you're soloing any kind of content where you can actually switch loadouts.
Yeah.
It's this new mechanism that you can use, and then you can kind of game the system. Do I use it? Yeah, it helps to organize things
Yeah.
for me. I will still put stuff into Dim. I'm
Mhm.
sure, like, Tony, tell me, I'm interested to hear a PvP experience of you on using builds. Like, do you have like 10 PvP builds? Do you have any PvE stuff?
Yeah,
I'd like
as a
to hear your
creator, and so I got to keep that in mind, perspective wise. I
Mhm.
don't know if even like a hardcore PvP player that isn't a content creator, do they really have a use for all that? Are they just
Mhm.
pulling it from Dim? So I think it serves creators. I think it serves in-game PvP players and PvE
Mhm.
players. PvE players probably a little bit more, but PvP players just, like in a similar capacity, in the sense of like, man, if I go into trials and I need to counter with this
This is my quick.
this is my quick change of loadout. Same thing for comp. That's what I mean specifically by like in game, but otherwise, I do. My loadouts stay full, period, 100%. And then because they stay full, I probably have a few loadouts still like in Dim, just, maybe they're less used, but still I use them every once in a while, but I can't
Mhm.
fit them with the in-game loadouts. So I definitely would not, and I'm not necessarily saying that anybody was trying to make this specific comparison. I definitely would not compare the utility of like in-game loadouts to accessing your vault from space.
Mhm.
The in-game loadouts is just have a bunch more like viability to it and use cases. But so I definitely think that was worth it, and I use those all the time. But like I said again, perspective, hardcore player plus content creator, the average PvP player, even the average hardcore PvP player that only dabbles in game, they may not find that same utility.
See, I like the way that I think about it is that it's doing the same thing that in-game LFG is doing. It's just bringing something back in. It allows you maybe a little bit more quick. I want to see how it iterates into like, oh, well, guys, I got to get something out of my vault while I'm in the raid. Like if you're in the raid and being able to take something from your vault in game, that'll be wonderful in game. And just thinking of that use, I had it at an S just because it was
Crazy.
because it would be
how many
because
people,
it's in the game.
They talk about it all. They talk about it all the time. This ain't the same, bro. You know what I'm saying? They talk about it all the time. Like how many people actually do raids?
That's
how
true.
many people actually do
That's true.
raids? Those people that do raids have Dim.
Yeah.
And so it's one thing if we're talking about like NLFG, you know,
I'll
and
put it
pretty
at a
much
B.
in-game. That's crazy. Okay, yeah, I mean, we could do it at a B, but you wild
I'll
for putting it
put
at
it-
S.
I'll
You
put it at
wild
a
for putting it
B.
at S.
I'll put
You know?
it at a B.
I thought more of you. That's basically, you know what I'm saying? Like
I thought it was a good tool.
I thought more of you, you know, as a person, individual, somebody I looked up to, a mentor, you know what I'm saying? I thought
Oh man,
more
you're
of
not
you
gonna
is-
like
is
this
all I
next
gotta
one
say.
then. You're not gonna like this next one then. I
Here
had
we go.
audio shards go in the way of the dodo at an A because I was like simplifying the economy. I'll take it.
You had that at a what?
I had that and at an A.
He's smiling now. He's smiling.
I feel
now
it's
'cause
really
he's
good.
just
I feel it's
he's
really
just
good.
Like, I don't know if Tony gonna come with me for this one.
I feel it's a really good
You
one.
feeling pretty? You feeling
If
pretty good
Tony
about this
doesn't
one?
Cook him, I'm gonna cook him. So you go, Tony.
No, I'm gonna let you cook. I'm gonna let you cook. Please
Well,
go
I'm
ahead.
not really gonna cook him, but Dan, do you remember? Did you play? You played Destiny 1?
Yes. Of
Remember
course I
Relic
did.
Iron?
Yes.
Did you enjoy
Mm.
farming for Relic Iron?
Look, I just want to get rid of stuff. We have too many currencies.
I'm with you, but it's to me, like, it's one of those things. I think they're trying to solve like 3 problems. I'm
Yeah.
not going to cook anybody. I think you're right. There are too many currencies in the game, but again, that's a design issue.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I think that they do, that the seasonal model has gotten right, where they're like, here's your keys and here's your stuff for the year, and if you want to do it,
Mhm.
here's your keys to open up the chest, and at the end of the year, we take those out. I think that's a good one of the seasonal things that they've done well. I think they're trying to solve the shard economy, because now what's going to happen, to be honest with you, even right now in the economy, with the way I play the game and the way that I focus things in the game, even as an
Mhm.
end game player, I use my shards all the time. I'm out of glimmer all the time. Here's what's going to end up happening. You're going to need to go do all these public events that you don't want to do, things that you
Mm.
don't want to spend your time doing, so that you can get the glimmer, so you can focus that one weapon. Maybe say, I haven't got my Mercurial Overreach that I've wanted, Tony. I've been playing comp to do that. I've just been doing my 3 comp games every single time. I've gotten my rose. I've got like 2 or 3 roses that I use, but I'm going to be focusing for that sniper rifle when it comes back. But I'm going to need a ton of glimmer to do it, and I'm going to have to go do a bunch of public events and spend more time in the game. And this is the thing. Spending time in the game doing things I don't want to do,
Okay.
which is fundamentally an L. If
Yeah.
you are going to get rid of the shards, cool, but you need to offset it. There is a cost reward with this. So if you're going to toss them, because some people have like thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of
Yeah.
shards, because they've used many of Cheese Forever's shard exploits, which is totally understandable. I get they're trying to solve the issue with it, but if they're trying to make it more of an easier onboarding process for newer players, because then they don't have to worry about, oh, I only have a couple of shards, I can't get the stuff from Xur,
Right.
which I think is a good design choice. But then you need to, for the end game players who have fundamentally been like stocking up on some of these things, that we don't want to spend time going to do patrols and some of those other things, you need to
Mhm.
give us a way of, maybe we get a lot for doing a raid, or maybe we do a lot for doing a dungeon, or if we do a competitive match, we should get like 30,000 glimmer. Like, we should get a lot for doing it. Like, it shouldn't be like, okay, here's two glimmer, a button, and a thumbtack. Like, it just doesn't work, So I give that definitely not as strong, because it's just, at this point now, what's happening is a lot of people are doing what they did with like season prep, is they're taking those shards, they're going to the moon, and I forgot what you can purchase there, but there's something you can purchase there. It's I'll think of it later, but it's like one of those things, like you can go to Rahul and you can basically just exchange it
Right.
for glimmer. And
Yeah.
that's what everyone's doing now at this point. They're just stocking up on those things. And Beyond Light had the spheres that you would get from killing Fallen, so it's kind of the same thing. Do I think it's an S or an A? Absolutely not. I would say it's a B or a C. They're just trying to solve
Yeah.
2 problems. I do like that they're trying to simplify things, and I think that that's a W. But unless if they reward us in the same way, or reward end game players for it, I just don't think it's as strong. But that's just me.
Yeah.
So no cooking required. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good straight down the middle at a B, just simply because of the fact that, yeah, it shows good intention towards an issue that we all kind of agree on with regards to simplifying the economy. But if we don't really know how well it's going to be implemented, with how it's going to end up actually again reverberating through the rest of the like monetary economy. And if we knew a little bit more about that, then we could probably place it like higher or lower. But in general, it's a good thing. Show some intention on their part. We'll see how it ends up playing out.
All right. I want to get into a bit of the weapon tuning. We got this huge Dev Insight blog back on the 25th of October talking about changes that we would be seeing across most PvE stuff. It seems like it is getting a buff whereas PvP is either not really all that much affected or otherwise like
checkmate as a way to balance it.
Yeah.
At least that's my take from it. I don't know if Tony has a different vibe, but like it seems like a lot of the problems they're trying to solve, because the big thing for a lot of the PvP and PvE community has been separate the modes. I kind of feel like checkmate is that. It's their way of trying to wall off the two pieces of content. And I think it's good because there's been a lot of PvE things that have gotten nerfed because of PvP. And there's also things in PvP that need to be nerfed because they're really strong. Like say, for example, just ability spam just in PvP is just obscene right now. Again, I don't know what Tony's take is on it, but I'm sick of, like,
I completely agree. I wouldn't even know because I ain't been there. I've been in checkmate at best.
And like in trials, like if you go in, it's like if you've got two hunters and they're using the decoy, they're just literally chucking, like it's just no skill. Chuck their seeker strand stuff, shoot the decoy. You have 6 seekers that can go and kill you in a rift. And then they can go and engage you. And it's just like literally one tap. If you're out of position by a hair, you're dead. Or if you're in movement going from one position of cover to another position of cover, and like 3 of those seekers hit you, you're dead. And there's talking about the skill gap compression. There's no skill in that. It's literally here you go, chuck it, but it works. That's the thing. So
yeah.
So other, like, where would you guys the changes that are coming, where would you guys place this? I had this personally, glaives, I love them. I think glaives are some of my favorite weapons in the game. Just from use case, I like that they're getting buffed in PvE. That was enough to get it at least a B from me. But like, I can see how across the board, I know we're seeing some changes. Like in the future, for a mid-season patch, we're getting bow tuning in PvP and additional weapon tuning for checkmate, aimed at promoting a better diversity of weapons. Where would you guys place this?
Excuse me.
Tony, go for it.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm cautious. I wouldn't even necessarily say optimistic about that better diversity in checkmate. I think that's a very nuanced balance that I think a lot of the weapon team does kind of understand, but I feel like they've got a lot of pressure from a bunch of different angles to not necessarily like hold up the ethos of what checkmate was dropped as. But just cautiously cautious there. But otherwise, I think it's a dub. I think the only reason why you wouldn't think that the weapon changes are a dub, I would say A tier, is because you just got some sort of bias against glaives. Glaives are cool. Glaives are in the game. Like pull one out. Of course, I'm always concerned about how that's going to end up affecting PvP with regards to rewarding gameplay, but I'm more in line of like just positive changes and then just pull things back if need be, or like these look like very mindful changes to glaives that end up distinguishing between archetypes, continuing to double down on the ethos behind each of the exotic glaives. I just love to see just really detailed mindful changes that double down on, what that archetype does, what that subfamily does, giving it an identity, right? And although, like I said, I'll say it again, even though, of course, I'm concerned about how that will end up playing out in PvP balance and rewarding gameplay, I'm more interested in seeing how glaives come forward and become more viable and become more used and add to weapon diversity as a whole, first and foremost. And then, if I need a little bit of something else, then hopefully it can remain mostly the same, and then checkmate gets, toned back a little bit. I say this all the time. I just always want there to be a corner for somebody like me to find rewarding gameplay. And as long as I have a corner, then I'm cool. Let people generally enjoy what they enjoy outside of, my little corner. I'm completely fine with that. So I think it's a dub. I think it's an A. Especially, I'd even mention this, especially for PvE. I mean, who doesn't love glaives in PvE, honestly? So
I just love stabbing. I just love stabbing, man.
Stabbing Dan. Like,
it's the only place I get to do it without getting arrested. So I'm going to do it. Mano, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I think he's right on the money. I just fundamentally like it because the gameplay loop itself is so stagnant. Our weapon, and the fact that like builds have been, some people are like, we've had more build crafting options. The truth is that build crafting has been significantly simplified since Lightfall. So this is a video I'm actually making. It's the only 10 builds you need for Destiny.
Yeah.
There's 10 builds for Destiny that you need to use, and they might shift. Like there's honorable mentions that might shift up and down depending on like the new strand, strand fragment or something like that,
or artifacts.
So it's cool to see weapons be more impactful back into the game because it's been a minute since that's happened. I'm all for it. Like I enjoy using glaives. I had Nezarec's Whisper out and using it in PvP and PvE. I've always enjoyed it. I love the concept of Vexcalibur, but they haven't really filled a niche. And the 3 exotic ones were more of just a hassle. And because of the hassle to get them, it was like, finally got it, chuck it in the vault and never use it again.
Yeah.
But there are some cool cases where you can use it. So I'm always a fan whenever they decide to say, hey, we're going to do some changes. And there's going to be some changes in PvP too. That'll fundamentally refresh the game. It'll be, oh, cool. These are the changes for this season. And we get to check it out. I think it's an A. I'm calling it an A. I think that's cool. A solid read from Tony too.
I'll toss that there then. For Sandbox, we have the Thorn changes. The Thorn change as well as the Catalyst. So in Season 23, Thorn will be getting both a Catalyst to bring its strength up in PvP and change to its base behavior to make it more fun to use in PvE. So picking up a Remnant can overflow the magazine up to 40 rounds max. The Catalyst will add plus 20 range, plus 10 stability, and getting kills or picking up a Remnant grants additional range, handling, and mobility. What are your thoughts on this? Tony, your face is scrunched.
Tony, do it.
Bro, I'm a hand cannon main, and this is crazy. This is crazy. I ain't ever want this. I never wanted this. Never wanted this. I don't know what type of overcompensation is going on over there, because it's clearly obvious that this is crazy OP. Like I was talking about it on Twitter. I'm just like, well, get ready to see basically 12 thorns in lobbies. Every single person using a thorn. Obviously, they've got. I know they do. I know 100%. They've got, like some strings basically ready to pull it back. Like I know that. But still, like it's. I guess maybe since I know that, it's not as bad, because I know for certain that they have some strings to pull it back in line, somewhat back in line. But it's a little like baffling to me, honestly. The range thing in particular was the one thing that I've been very outspoken about. Like Thorn, the identity of the weapon, and because it's a heavy like sweat weapon, scrim weapon, I know it very, very well and how competitive it is, especially in the hands of a niche like Thorn user. It is extremely potent. And so like there's it's not as if, like the range is affecting it like that with somebody that is in tune with Thorn. Now,
right.
That being said, I completely understand that they want to pull it forward to allow, more folks to have access to a very iconic Destiny hand cannon in PvP. And so, like I'll give them that +5 range, but +20, +10 range, +20, then more range on top of that. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about some cross map type stuff, like especially with the burn, you're just gonna be ticking everybody. Ain't nobody recovering. Nobody's recovering. So the only thing that I can kind of come up with is that it's just this kind of overcompensation to get people to move again, get people to push again, get people to get aggressive again, because everybody's got this, everybody's going to have this tool. The other thing that may end up, we don't know how it's going to be acquired, the catalyst as well. It could be something that is like tied to a super long quest, time gated, whatever else. To the degree you see Necrochasm right now, right? Necrochasm isn't crazy in the Crucible, because it actually takes, some things to get, right? And so that might be kind of like naturally time gating it to the point where it won't be overwhelming to see Thorn, and then people will just be going crazy with it. The people that have it are just gonna be going crazy with it for time. We've seen it plenty of times. The people that got Vex just went crazy with it for a bit. They lived that power fantasy, and then as it came up in usage rates, it got pulled back a little bit here and there. That's what I anticipate to probably, happen, and to drive some sort of activity that maybe Bungie wants to drive. But I was a little disappointed to see it drop like so hot, because it's so obviously overpowered. I mean, not just with the range stuff, but also with the overflow stuff as well. But like I said, I'm not against it, people. Look, don't hate me. Don't hate the messenger. Not against it. All right. We just all know it's gonna drop. It's gonna drop hot. It's fine. I'm gonna be fine myself. I would just put it at a. I'm gonna put it at an A, simply because I think my Thorn users deserve it.
Yeah,
and it's an iconic, weapon, and I know that there's gonna be there's some strings,
some push and pull.
Yeah, there's gonna be some strings, that are already in place to pull it back if need be. So, and I guess the only thing that doesn't give it an S in that. I know I said a lot of like stuff I was concerned about, and I still put it at an A. But like I said, the Thorn users deserve it. It's an iconic weapon. Honestly, the only thing that doesn't put it at an S is we don't know what type of quest it's tied to. If this quest or whatever it is a banger, I say S. At that point, let it rock for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Pull the strings, pull it back a little bit. But we need something to be excited about, whether we're talking about PvE or PvP. There's nobody that's not going to be excited. That's a fan of the franchise that's not going to be excited about Thorn coming through and being hot. Got to be reasonable about it.
Yeah,
it's iconic.
Mano, what about you?
I have 4 quick things. I'll try to be quick with it. Okay, 1, I'm biased because my stream started out like literally my overlay was 2 thorns, like at the top of my screen, and like the first thing I ever started doing helps with and like teaching people how to do stuff was the summoning pits. There was a guy, I had 1 viewer, it was my brother, and then there was me, and then there was this guy that literally stopped in. White Wolf, I forget what the numbers were, but it was like White Wolf, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm just soloing this Thorn mission because I need something to do and it's kind of fun." He's like, "Oh dude, I need help with that," and he stopped in the stream. I helped him get Thorn.
So, cool.
So like, I have a connection with Thorn from a personal level. So that's the first thing. Number 2 is that the PvE side of things could see some real cool things with this. So I could see the strength of it. It's cool to see a weapon like that because Necrochasm is cool in PvE as well. There's also like, I used it last week in trials in a couple of spots and it actually helped.
No, Necrochasm is crazy good in PvP.
It's really good. Like, especially like if there's a lot of people who are holding on to each other's butts, like if you get someone with the headshot, and they explode and it gets the other teammate. Like I've actually saved, and actually a couple of people in my community have done the same thing. Like I have some videos that people have sent me of like it saved their trials matches using Necrochasm. So Thorn could be the same thing. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do with PvE and Thorn because I could see it being really kind of cool there. So that's the second thing. The third thing is it might be overpowered in PvP. And I guess 3 and 4 are kind of tied together, but this goes back to what I was thinking before. And I'd like to hear maybe like a little bit of what Tony's thought is. Again, this goes to the idea of maybe they're going to make Checkmate more of like the competitive experience and maybe bring that straight up into competitive because maybe Thorn doesn't have as much strength. Again, I'm just theory crafting. Maybe they do something to Thorn so that it's more powerful in like, normal Crucible. But when you go into Checkmate, again, that's their way of sort of balancing everything together, right? That's kind of my theory is they're using it to balance everything together. So I could see that it being their way of balancing things is just be like in Checkmate, it's a strong weapon, but at the same time, it's not so powerful because in Checkmate, we've done some specific PvP tuning to it. So I could see that. That was kind of my third and fourth thing. Is like I think it's going to be absolutely broken in PvP, and they're going to have to do something with it. Yeah, it goes to the quest. If they decide to put the catalyst in the dungeon, oh man, that'd be very strange. But I could see them doing that, like having the catalyst quest being in a dungeon, be in the dungeon being monetized, right? I hope they don't do that. Generally, there's an exotic that goes with every dungeon. And they just have the catalyst with that. I don't think they'll do it, but I was just thinking like if they're like, oh, we need revenue, that'd be an easy way for them to do it. I hope they don't do it that way, but
I really hope they don't.
I
hope
so
they
too.
like have an absolute banger of a quest because
Agreed.
The cool quests and the secrets are the things that the community really vibes on, like Whisper, Outbreak, Presage. At least a lot of the PvE community does and enjoys are those little quests that kind of in Hawkmoon. Like, those are things that help to drive the PvE community outside the basic strikes, raids, and things like that. So I'm excited for it. An A is probably the right place to put it, as I think it is it's going to be one of the iconic changes for this season.
Yeah. And to come back around to what you said with regards to, well, two things. One was I forgot about the PvE builds. Absolutely. That's going to be fun. It's going to be like kind of like so overpowered, that it pushes a weapon that you wouldn't necessarily see, a whole archetype that you wouldn't necessarily see in PvP, especially like PvE, especially PvE in game. People are going to be putting on those gauntlets. What are those things called?
The Warlock ones?
Yeah, the Warlock ones that synergize with Thorn and anything corrupt. It's not corruption, but
what is it called? Necrotic Grip.
Necrotic Grip. Exactly. And just coming up with like little fun things, for that. But what was the start of number 3? By the way, Mano, were you just like I hope that
it's going to be broken in PvP.
Oh, it's basically the checkmate's going to be the way that they balance
checkmate.
PvP.
So the crazy thing. PvP. Yeah, the crazy thing about that is it's going to operate. It's still going to be OP in Checkmate because it's Checkmate. Checkmate operates very similarly to Scrims, actually. In Scrims, everybody's running at least 6 resilience, and so there will be a resilience checkpoint by which somebody can get like 2-headied. Well, that's interesting, but I expect in normal resilience, in normal Crucible, you have to have at least 6 resilience in order to avoid like burning out to 2-headies with Thorn perk. And so I just assume that there's going to be some sort of resilience checkmate. I'm sorry, that there is some sort of, because the values don't actually change, when the catalyst comes out, that there is some sort of like resilience check for Thorn as well. And, with resilience being still decently important in checkmate, people are going to be definitely, everybody's going to be cognizant of whatever the resilience check is going to be for Thorn, whether it be checkmate or otherwise. It'll still be very, very strong is what I'm saying. And something that is, just think about Le Monarch in the form of like a hand cannon, especially with all that range. And think about how Le Monarch, even as a lightweight, is still something, and even with bows being diminished in checkmate and bows being soon to be diminished, bows being diminished in checkmate currently right now. I won't talk about the bow changes in the future because we don't know what that's about. People are still using Le Monarch. That's the one bow that I still see being used in checkmate. And so there's just something to the fact that it burns, it causes that tick damage, it prevents recovery, and that we have that team shooting element of it, and that there's that resilience check as well. So still going to be OP in checkmate. It's just to a lesser degree, and then we're going to have to figure out what the resilience check is for it, and whether it's too high or too low based on the average person and what they're running for resilience versus other resilience checks that exist in checkmate.
Basically, what I was thinking is that the big argument that the community has said is let's balance PvP and PvP separately. My theory is that that's what they're doing with checkmate. Is they're like, okay, PvP players and PvE players, we hear you. So I could see them, and just to that point, Tony, you're like, we're all kind of like around the same subject. Is like they do something so it's not broken inside of
checkmate in particular.
In particular, but then they make it powerful in other things, which could be a W if that's the path. And they use checkmate as kind of, they're like, okay, we're balancing things for PvP, and we're using checkmate as kind of our, what would you call it, like our sketch pad, and the way that we like get
their first check.
Yeah, it's literally their first
Yeah.
check, because I easily could see them moving checkmate to more modes inside of Destiny, because it helps to balance, because I don't remember all the specifics of it, but doesn't it help out balance more of your ability spam and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
it does, because
Mhm.
you got increased cooldowns for your abilities. Yep.
So I could easily see them like doing that and just being like, we're going to do a little bit more testing, like one more test. And my theory is like, okay, we're going to balance PvP, and checkmate is literally our checkpoint. And they're going to
Mhm.
just like literally say, okay, everything's checkpoint, checkmate now, go. And I could see them doing that as a way to make it so that there is a balance, that we can still be powerful in PvP or PvE, excuse me. We can still be powerful in ability spam in
Mhm.
PvE, and then in PvP, it's checked, which is totally okay. And part, it also fits with the title of it. I think that's a great idea. Like, I'm all for it. I think that would be a great thing to do. And if Thorn is checked like that, then it's basically like their template for being like, okay, we're going to check the power level of
Yeah.
this in PvP. Okay, it's way broken. Let's tone it down a little bit. Like, I could see that being a W, not only for the PvE community, because we get to keep our broken builds, which are required basically now for end game
Mhm.
bosses and stuff like that, but also the PvP community can be happy because they are focused more on gun skill and movement, which is really what PvP should be oriented around. Not,
Mhm.
hey, I can throw all these grenades
Yeah.
and stuff at
Yeah,
you,
not to have
maybe.
abilities at the forefront. Yeah, I agree. And the reason why I agree a little bit more with what you're saying as well, with regards to maybe they're testing out checkmate, in order to implement at the very least those ability cooldowns throughout the rest of the Crucible, is the fact that in season 23 they said that the ability cooldown penalty in checkmate specifically will be decreased from 50% to 30%. So they're
Mhm.
clearly testing things out, and the fact that they decreased that penalty, you know, tells me that, yeah, you might be right, that they're testing it out to try to see, because I've long said that checkmate honestly is fine the way that it is as far as like the ability
Mhm.
cooldown, but if we're going to bring that to the wider Crucible, it can't be as jarring as the difference between checkmate and regular Crucible is right now. There has to be some
Mhm.
sort of middle ground between the two, and 50% to 30% sounds like a little bit of a middle ground. So if they're testing that, then I'd be more inclined to think that you're right, that they're testing to bring those checkmate cooldowns into the wider Crucible.
And I mean, from a PvP player standpoint, and again, I played a little bit of checkmate and enjoyed it. But Tony, you like the checkmate experience, don't you? Like,
I
compared to the rest of the
love,
Crucible?
love, 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 love. But my point
Mhm.
is, yes, I love it.
Well, and see, that could be a good thing, because maybe they don't layer in all of Crucible, but maybe there's like a, talking about the casual playlists and like the more competitive playlists, maybe they could layer that on trials, and they could put it
Mhm.
on competitive experience, and they could put it on like those two experiences, to make it so that people, this was one of the original talking points, is like, we need to have an avenue so that skilled players can feel the improvements and things being rewarded, and they can't feel that right now in basic Crucible. So maybe this is their way of, again, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm theory
Mhm.
crafting for them. But if that's the case, I mean, you just heard Tony, like, just, I love, 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 LOVE,
Yeah.
love it. I mean, if he's excited to do it again, that's great. I've enjoyed when I hop in. I don't do it very much because, again, for
Yeah.
me, there's no carrot. But if there's, if they put that into trials, I'll be happy, because there will be less ability spam. It'll be more gunplay, which was, to me, was always fundamentally Destiny's greatest strength in the
Yeah,
first place, is
Mhm.
movement,
100%.
gunplay, because Bungie nails that. So
Yep.
I would be super happy if they did that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
The
they I think they mentioned the fact that they were going to have some checkmate weekends in trials. So
Mhm.
we'll be seeing that, and it just further doubles down on the fact that I think you're absolutely leaning in the right direction. Is that checkmate is basically just a test for where things are going to end up going with the wider Crucible, and we may, it may not just become like all checkmate. They might just move the 30% back to the 50%, but they're just utilizing checkmate and the labs right now currently
Right.
in order to test where they want the wider Crucible to go. So it's all labs, it's all their
In a live
testing
environment.
ground. Yeah, in a
In a
live
live
environment.
environment
Yeah,
that
yeah,
without bringing a section of the population into like private
yeah,
servers. Yeah.
most definitely.
All right. The final thing on the board here. Season 23. So I know I have a story here. Maybe it should have been seasonal. But season 23, what are your guys' thoughts on it? We're going to be going back, seemingly, to the Dreaming City. There's going to be some Ahamkara hijinks, possibly tying putting a nice little bow on that prospect or off on that storyline that started so many years ago.
I think unless Mano, you want to go first.
No, you go first, Tony. You're cooking. You're good. You're good.
I think it's almost assuredly going to be like good. It possibly could move up to S, but if I was a betting person, I wouldn't put it in a B. First of all, we're talking about Last Wish.
Yeah.
We're talking about Forsaken. We're talking about one of the best DLCs to drop in all of, like, we're rocking with what? Forsaken and Taken King? Is that what we're rocking with? That's what we're rocking with, right?
I think so. I
You know
think
what I'm
Witch
saying?
Queen
Those are
gets
the
an
two.
honorable
Strongest.
mention in there.
Yeah. So we're talking about two of the best DLCs. We're talking about one of the two best DLCs. We're talking about just so much nostalgia, the comeback story for Forsaken, as well as far as Destiny 2. What a time! Got to be like the best, for most of us, as far as out of memory for Destiny 2. So to get that nostalgia back with Last Wish, for us coming in off of the puzzle that just dropped that everybody's like super excited about for the most part. I've only seen for the most part like overwhelming excitement about that. And the lead up into Final Shape, I can't imagine that Bungie wouldn't put significant amount of resources behind that lead up to the Final Shape. I just think it's almost assuredly got to be like a banger off of just the collective will coming out of Bungie and everybody just coming together to make that happen. But between that collective will leading into Final Shape and also it based on the sub genre of lore from a time that we all loved and have so much nostalgia for, between those two things, I think it's got to be at least an A. If I was a betting man, it could end up being like one of the best seasons ever, especially with all these other changes. If these other changes end up being bangers, even the stuff that we don't necessarily know whether it's well thought out or not, the overwhelming majority ends up being really well thought out. Yeah, I think it's the only thing that I'm kind of actually, excited about, in the near future. I'm more excited about next season, honestly, than Final Shape. That's saying something.
Yeah.
That's saying something.
Mano, what about you?
I am cautiously optimistic. So this season of the Witch was the first time, I believe, and I could be wrong because someone could check me on it, but I believe this season, from a narrative standpoint, was one of the better seasons, one of the stronger seasons. I think it was hindered by the fact that I think this season, from a narrative standpoint, was excellent. I think the puzzles were great, but I think it's not the season's fault that there's just so much in the game right now that, like, what was previous Season of the Deep?
Season of the Deep was right before that.
Yeah. So I think we were hindered because Season of the Deep was okay, but it was still kind of the same thing. We were more like, we were excited and it was cool, but it's the whole drip fed content thing. I think that says more about this seasonal model than the seasonal itself. I'm excited because I think Tony hit it right on the head. We're going back to the Dreaming City, and the Dreaming City is the Dreaming City is the best environment that we have in Destiny 2, hands down. It's the best one by a long shot. Going back and doing stuff inside the Dreaming City and potentially with Riven and using all those pieces there is going to be fantastic. Having Marasov, who's obviously clearly strong, and having the interactions with her brother take center stage again. I can give my hopes and my dreams and my hope and aspirations for this season. I would love to see more of the story with Crow and Mara kind of play out. It was really Crow heavy for a while there, and then like we kind of took a break, and now it's about leaning up to that. But I would really like to see how that whole relationship progresses. I hope that they don't make the fundamental mistake of this season, which is where, oh yeah, by the way, and Savathun rezzed herself and she's gone now, and they didn't show it. Like they need to show more. They need to invest more in that. I think the cutscene was pretty good, and the final cutscene before the puzzle was great. The only thing I would say is that they need to. It'll be interesting. Are we considering the new dungeon to be part of this season, or is that something separate?
So I was asked that a few times today, and I feel like, in general, they are part of the season. They are part of the seasonal narrative that we all tell every time. Also, part of that was the possibility of a raid coming back with craftable weapons. I think I had that on here for like a moment until I realized that wasn't confirmed. So like things along those lines, I'm sticking them with the season currently for this voting process.
I'm asking because I consider them being part of the season too, but because they're not monetized the same, then
Right.
technically they're separate. Again, this goes to my theory of Bungie just put it all together and just let it be one price point. Just that it's more of that thing for the community because, you know, if we're talking from a seasonal perspective, it's technically not part of the season, but it should be. Just put it together because
I just go back to the fact that it says season 23 story, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like any story that's a part of the dungeon, any lore that comes with a part of the dungeon is going to be intertwined with, you know, the seasonal storyline as well, you know.
I'm mixing
same way Deep was.
I'm mixing my vibes.
I get your point, of course.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm mixing the vibes of the monetization with the actual seasonal content. I think it's gonna be an A. I think it's gonna be great. I think the armor looks pretty cool too. I'm not sure, like the armor and like the bow and any of the Awoken stuff that we've had always looks great. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see how we get in, you know, how the 15th wish works out. I do also like the fact that they seem to be closing more loops, which I think is strong for them. I like the fact that they're starting to be like, okay, we are starting to wrap some stuff up narratively. You know, the first thing that kind of got wrapped actually was factions. Like we're like, okay, the factions are gone now because I can't remember her name, but the future war cult lady Lakshmi decided to, you know, have a moment and then got wrecked for it. And, you know, that was actually, it was cool. They're starting to close these threads. So I'm excited to see them start to double down. I hope that they just really start to execute better because this season was a good start. I hope that they reiterate. I think the card piece was kind of cool, like the whole idea of like you have the different cards that you pick. I think that was nice. I think it was interesting. I don't think it was like groundbreaking. It was interesting, and it wasn't, you know, the 3x5 or 3x6 node system that we had for 2-3 years.
It was, but it wasn't.
Yeah, it was and it wasn't. It was the same thing, but you know, this at least they're iterating on it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And taking chances.
Yeah.
So
Dan,
I'm excited to see what they do with it.
Negative Nancy.
Look, it was essentially the same. I'm going to be the person.
Y'all PvE players, y'all be eating so good.
We have been, and we've been spoiled, Tony.
Look at me.
Spoiled.
Look at me. Us PvP players, we sit up here like, oh, we got anything?
You got cards?
We got cards? That's crazy. That's crazy. Like when I saw the card system, I was like, honestly, I'm dead serious when I say this. When I saw the card system, I was like, oh shit, we got something brand new. Up until you said a second ago, I didn't connect the dots that it was kind of like the old system, you know? I literally didn't. I was like, oh, this is brand new. This is cool, man.
The deck building section of that, the deck building piece of that was amazing. I like being able to kind of hone what buffs you wanted in each activity. That was banger. But
yeah, it was great.
Yeah. The only thing that I can like, I'm putting it at an A. I would have put an S, but we don't know how it's going to end. And if it ends with us just making a wish on a dragon, like, please, dragon, let us through the traveler, then I might be a little upset, but I think I'll be okay. Other than that, I think that's a wrap on this, unless we have any categories that we want to move around. Anything that you're thinking on can move up or down?
Honestly, I'm just I'm looking. This is looking pretty good to me. I'm honestly just pleasantly surprised at how top heavy this is. Yeah, honestly,
that we did
like pleasantly.
Yeah, we didn't have any S's. We didn't go down into the D's. It's fairly well balanced.
Yeah,
in that regard. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I'm so sorry for taking up so much of it.
No, you're good.
No, you're cool.
Tony, it was good talking to you again, man. It's been
likewise. Always a pleasure for real. We got like, I'm telling you, amongst all of us, like you know, the Dans, the Mano, you know what I'm saying, the Liv, the Epic Dans, you know what I'm saying? We're all friends for years now, you know, like and man, like anytime I get some time with you guys, I wouldn't necessarily say I guess it's kind of like a small knit group, you know, in relative comparison or whatnot. But it's just like, I know that whenever any of you come through, I'm going to get like a great conversation, some great insights, some great perspectives that I can take back to my communities. We're all so busy. We just don't get time to just chill most times as well. So this is a time for us to kind of just like poke at each other, hang out and vibe. So no, I appreciate the time. That's half of the value of coming through, here is just being able to spend time with you guys as well. So I appreciate it.
It's nice to feel and hang out with other people who have very similar views to you, and maybe you can have, I wouldn't even say disagreements because I don't feel like I had disagreements, but different points of view.
I don't know. You guys really didn't like what I thought about
that was crazy. I couldn't honestly, I couldn't believe that. It was like, you know what it was like, Dan? It's like having like the person that is actually hosting to just be so ill prepared, That's what it felt like to me. That's what it felt. It felt like there was no depth. It felt like there was no depth to that S tier.
I'm just letting him cook.
That was S tier to me.
Simple vault access in orbit.
I like it a lot.
Dan?
I think
that's crazy.
It's gonna ask anyone. It's gonna be fine.
People are gonna love it. Sound like you ain't asked nobody.
They're gonna eat it. They're gonna eat it up. I'm telling you.
Look, maybe you know what I'm saying. I defer to you. You got a pulse on the community, Dan. I'm gonna let you rock. But I was honestly surprised. Both, and I ain't gonna put myself in both me and Mano. We were both.
You guys both
surprised.
your eyes got
we were both
really
surprised.
wide, like to the point where
our eyebrows.
Yeah,
both of your eyes got so large that they kind of melded into one another, like pools.
And can you imagine if Liv was here? I was about to say if Liv ended up making it,
I would have been dead.
No way that one of these right here would 100% be in D tier. There's no way that something would have survived the D tier if Liv wasn't here for real. Woo. That's a very passionate lady.
Very passionate lady. But yeah,
and we love her.